Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. I would like to share my feelings about my friendship and association with Dr. J.R.Sankaran, my sincere and dearest friend for the past over 60 years. I had the pleasure and privilege of spending a lot of time with him for the past nearly 60 years. I would like to share my feelings with all of you about my association with him. I don't think I'll be able to share my feelings in extempore speech, so I have prepared a written speech, and with your permission, I'd like to read that. I have been blessed to have the privilege of a deep and enduring friendship with my dear friend, Dr. J.R.S. for over 60 years. He was an extraordinary human being with a heart overflowing of compassion, care, and social consciousness. Although he achieved incredible success and many accomplishments in the field of medicine, my friend's personal life personifies selfless humanity, a source of solace and healing to innumerable hearts all over our society and all over the world. In my own inner circle of numerous family members, his very presence illuminated our hearts, a source of comfort, confidence, and optimism. His unique quality of grace under pressure and warmth of care reflected a pure magic and golden touch. I personally recall him after Dr. J.R.S., a dedicated and humble healer, a fountain of intellect, enormity of wisdom, a pillar of strength, and above all, an enduring, generous, and noble soul, a noble soul. His indelible marks in all our hearts will always live on, as they often say, the goodness in a person and the true compassion lives on and treasured forever. At this juncture, I would like to quote Dr. Rabindranath Tagore regarding life of service. Quotation: I slept and dreamt that life was joy. I awoke and saw that life was service. I acted and behold, service was joy. Service was joy always for Dr. J.R.Sankaran. Thank you all, ladies and gentlemen.
Our next speaker is Dr. M.S. Ramachandran, one of Chennai's most renowned physicians, a classmate, personal friend, and colleague of Dr. J.R.S.
I have been associated with Dr. J.R.S. since 1948, when both of us were in the portals of the Laila College. 1950, we left the portals of the Laila College and joined. I joined MMC and he joined Stanley. And the kind of knowledge, the kind of friendliness, and the kind of good human being he was, I still recall. He could deliver, his diction was extraordinary. He had a good fluency, he had good articulation, and he had the necessary skill. And when there was a parting speech in Laila College in the area of natural sciences, chemistry, all of us shied away from giving a talk or the farewell speech. But in every class he came out and he gave the farewell speech, which I recall with great eclat. He has been always a very good student, very scholarly, and he comes from a good lineage. I have known his parents too well. His father was Rajaratna Mulyar. He had a very lucrative practice in North Chennai. His mother was Yogam. Rightly, the house was christened Raja Yogam. And this Raja Yogam he inherited, not necessarily in physical form, but also in real life. And then he did his postgraduate along with me, passed out flying colors, and then chose to specialize in some areas like hepatology, history of medicine, and HIV. He rose to eminence by dint of hard work and merit. He lived respected, he dies regretted. Of course, the family of doctors in his family, I have known his brother-in-law Lakshmipati in UK, his twin daughters, his sister Sulochana, his sister Lashanti, all of them I know too well. He was so proud of his children, his daughter-in-law, his son-in-law, his sambandhi, and all their people. And God has been very kind to him. And from whatever happened in America some years ago, some decades ago, when he was given an implanted defibrillator and from what it is today, mercifully, thanks to his divine blessings, he has lived well, respected. And what is more, it's not the money that one makes, it's not the kind of contact, it's not the kind of degrees, it's not the kind of encomiums, it's not the kind of students spread across the globe, but the kind of humility and the number of hearts he has touched in many, many people's lives. I stand before you with all my respects to him, with all my love for him, and I feel orphaned along with you. To my knowledge, only thing he felt sad during the evening of his life was he wanted to see very badly this Rajkumar's child getting married. I am sure it will happen with the blessings of Lord Almighty. And not to injure another man's feelings, not to give inflammatory speeches, not to talk ill of others, is itself a great quality, leave alone being a good physician. He was a very busy man, but he had time for, he was a connoisseur of Carnatic music. He had a good attire always. He believed in good Hindu religion and Hindu philosophy. He lived a full life. May God give him all the mental peace that we pray for. I thank the family members for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. I now call upon Dr. Anirudh Rajkumar, Dr. JRS's grandson, to say a few words on his doting grandfather.
Good evening, everybody. It's definitely an honor to be able to speak here in the midst of all these stalwarts in their respective fields, but definitely not as much of an honor as it is to be able to have the ability to carry on a legacy of this magnitude. I'm speaking here on behalf of all the grandkids, and all of us were extremely distraught and destroyed the day he breathed his last. First, I'd like to know, okay, my talk is not necessarily going to be very serious and all, so I'm just going to share a few of the lighter experiences and the experiences which all of us have shared with him. So, first of all, I'm sure as many people know, I love spending time with my grandparents on both my mother's side and my father's side. So, I can proudly say I'm probably the one grandchild who spent the most time with my tata, though he loved us all equally. And yeah, and therefore I've probably been the one who's been scolded the most by him as well. And he was extremely academically oriented, and in fact to the point of almost obsession with starting from dad to all of us to do well in our studies. So one of his favorite lines used to be "Padi alladu padu." That was the motto which my dad lived by, and then subsequently passed on to me as well. And every time I used to, naturally being part of this generation with attention deficiency, I used to be carried away and look into my phone quite often. And that's when he'll always scold me, "Mundong, mundong, enna phone vendi kadakku." And yes, he used to say it twice for emphasis. And also his favorite word, another word which I used to get scolded by, was "jata," although I still don't know what it means. Another one famous scolding which I've got is, if he does see me get a little distracted, he'll be like, "Thola urchi kaila kuduthruven." And the other thing is, I was really proud as soon as I joined medical college. I was so proud that almost all my professors used to come and tell me, that although most of them knew my dad, they still used to come and tell me, "I used to love your Tata's classes, he was my favorite professor." And this happened throughout my undergrad and till recently as well. And I used to listen, and I used to hear lots of quotes saying how Tata was probably the best when it came to history of medicine. So he always believed in honoring our forefathers and ancestors in the medical field as well. And other thing I should say about Tata is he's always been a fantastic sport. He's been very sporting with most things, and Although sometimes his calmness and few of his habits used to annoy my dear Amachi a lot, but still it used to be fun watching them fight as well some of the times. And then my dear cousin brother Aditya Anand Kumar, he used to imitate Tata quite often towards the latter part of his life, especially when he did not have his dentures on. So he used to imitate him saying, "Hey, shway," like that, as he did not have his dentures on. And Tata was always such a sport. He used to laugh very sportingly about it. Sometimes even ask him to imitate him again to his face. And some of my other earlier memories with Tata was how when back like 15, 16 years back, I was actually struggling to get into my cricket team. I know it's a very trivial issue, but Tata actually took the time off to come convince my coach to give me a chance to actually play and all that. So if I did make it anywhere in my university team, it's thanks to him only. And then another one or two funny experiences which I've had with Tata over the last few years. I was logging on to Facebook once and I was browsing through the homepage. And I did not notice, but Tata actually snuck up on me. He was standing behind me and he was quietly watching my homepage as well. And then he was not aware of the random photos and random stories which pop up. So the first thing he asked me was, "Yenda and the ponunga photo ellam paathuட்டு irukka" on Facebook. And I had a tough time convincing him that it was just random people who kept popping up. And then I did explain to him. And then he saw this photo of two little kids there and he was like, "Ani, is that you?" And I was like, "Tata, no Tata, I'm much older now." But then I realized in his mind I'll always be a little child only, like I am to my parents and my other grandparents as well. And I could also proudly say I'm probably among the last few who enjoyed his classes when he came to teaching cardiology. So he was renowned for his mimicry of heart murmurs and all that, as Professor Tanikatsanam sir would know here. So, and I was one of the last few to enjoy that as well. And I was also quite blessed that I could be with Tata towards the last few days of his life, and I could actually spend lots of quality time with him. And I was with him till his last minute. I even taught him a new word before the day before the event. I taught him a word called selfie, and I also took a picture with him, which happened to be his last photograph, as you would have seen.
Thank you.
So anyway, once again, I'm really proud and honored on behalf of all of the grandkids who really miss him every day. And I can say honestly, he's definitely left an impact on not just me, on thousands and lakhs of other people as well in this world. And I'm really proud to be able to carry on the legacy that he and my dad have left me. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Ani. Our next speaker is Dr. C.M.K. Reddy, Senior Surgeon in Chennai and President of the All India Telugu Federation, Professor Emeritus Tamil Nadu, Dr. M.G.R. University, and a close friend of Dr. J.R.S. for many decades. Over to you.
Mr. Sankaran, the family members of Professor J.R.S. and friends. He was the first senior doctor I encountered when I returned from US in 1970. When I didn't know anybody here, I didn't even know Tamil. He called up various nursing homes and said that there is a new young doctor came from US, he will be operating there, allow him to operate. Pandali Nursing Home and other hospitals, Rama Rao, etc. From then onwards, he has been my guide, mentor, philosopher. And Dr. MSR has already mentioned many of his qualities. I don't intend to repeat all of them, except there is a great humanist, very compassionate, non-commercial, and I'm happy to see that his next generation is carrying the torch which he lit. I had another very interesting experience. When I just returned from US, he was treating one case of abdominal tuberculosis. The patient had intestinal obstruction, going downhill, is almost on the last stage of her life. And no surgeon wanted to operate on her. Though Dr. J.R.S. advised surgery, no one was willing to operate. I just came, I saw her, and I told the physician who referred her to me, can I operate on her? She will live if we operate. She said, what is this? You are a young fellow, just come from US. I was hardly 28 years at the time. And if something happens, it's going to be your future. I said, no, it doesn't matter. She requires surgery, we'll do it. You explain to them, risk, we'll do it. She lived for next 30 years. It's a very interesting experience. And JRS remembers it very fondly, and he often tells me that the patient is still alive. So this was my second experience with him. And there are three types of deaths we can encounter. People die when they die. That is most of us. But then there are people who die when they are still alive. We forget them because they have never been in the society or in the mainstream of life, of anybody's life. Whereas there are some who will probably never die in our hearts. He always lives because the goodness, the kindness he has shown, the benevolence will never be forgotten. And JRS definitely belongs to that category of physicians. I don't think anybody who encountered him once will never forget him. Highly God-fearing, and I think we lost a big brother in our family. Thank you.
Our next speaker is the Honorable Mr. Justice Rajendran, Judge in the Madras High Court and nephew of Dr. JRS. Please say a few words.
My dear Chitti, family members of Dr. JRS, friends, relatives, ladies and gentlemen, we are assembled here on a sad note, but to remember a gentleman to the core. His words, his life cannot be taught or spoken in 3 minutes, which has now been given to me. I'll try to do this to the most possible way. One thing which occurs to me, normally I'm a speaker who is an extempore speaker, but today I was penning my thoughts because lest I would miss the best. One of the greatest lessons for a highly fulfilling life is to rise from a life spent chasing success to one dedicated to functioning or fulfilling the significance. And the best way to create significance is to ask yourself a simple question: how may I serve? All great leaders, thinkers, and humanitarians have abandoned their selfish life, and selfless lives have been taken so. In doing so, they found all the happiness, abundance, and satisfaction they desired. They have all understood that all importance of the humility. You cannot pursue success. Success ensues. It flows as unintended but inevitable byproduct of a life spent serving people and adding value to the world. Why I wrote this was to a simple question. Here is one person who has all along his life till his last have been serving people. Here is a doctor who comes to the clinic even at the less 1 week before his death, in a wheelchair, seeing people, the humanitarian approach. Here is one gentleman who till the last would always call a patient is the master. I should serve. That service above self, which is the Rotary motto, was in him throughout. This is JRS. One thing more I'll add. Probably when he is here, looking at this, he would say, please do not weep. Or he would call, I recollect a poem. When I am dead, my dearest, sing no sad songs for